Good morning, dear children. Myself, Mrs. Tanushri Barman. I am here to take your history session today. Today, we'll see about the first war of independence that took place in the year 1857. Okay. Now, we know India was under the dominion of British rule. For many years, British ruled over us. Okay. And see, 1857, if you see the year first war of independence was fought by the Indians against the Britishers. But if you see the year 1857, do you think here in this war we got success? No. If we would have got success in this war, then India would have got independence in the year 1857 itself. Yes or no? We got independence in the year 1947. Means nearly after 90 years of this first war of independence. Isn't it? Now, this first war of independence, why do you think this war of independence took place? Okay, see, to take a decision to rise a revolt against somebody is not a sudden action. Okay, there is something going on or some things happen to the people that people take a decision to rise a revolt against someone. Okay, something very severe things happen. Okay, some grave things happen to their life. Okay, their life is disrupted in a very negative way. That time they rise a revolt against the British, against anyone. I am not talking about Britishers over here, but against anyone. Okay, so to rise a revolt, of course there should be a very strong reason behind that revolt. Okay, so here also the Indians are rising a revolt against the Britishers. Okay, now do you think that Indians just dreamt one day, one night, ki tomorrow we have to fight against the Britishers and they fought against the Britishers? No, naturally not. It is not the case like that because that time as it is India was a very weak country in front of the Britishers. Okay, any time as compared to Britishers, we were not up to the mark of the Britishers. Isn't it? We were weak, we were not that strong. Okay, so what made Indians to rise a revolt against the Britishers? What was the reason for this first war of independence? Okay, now the reason for this first war of independence, there are many drawbacks also for this first war of independence, but after this first war of independence only, Indians got a feeling that they can fight against the Britishers. Okay, and there are various reasons also why this first war of independence took place, and those reasons are divided into 4 categories: political, social, economic, military. Okay, and we'll see these causes one by one. So we'll study the causes. Okay, these causes is divided into 4 categories. That is political causes. Okay, socio-religious causes. Okay, then you have economic causes, and last one you can say it is military causes. Okay, so political, socio-religious, economic and military causes. Okay, so these are the causes, these were the causes. So many causes were there. Under political you have many points, under social religious you have many points to understand, under economic, under military. So all these were different reasons for the first war of independence. Now children, I would like to make it clear one thing, that reasons, causes, okay, these things happen before the war. Okay, these things happen, that's why war takes place. Okay, and if I use the word results effects and consequences. Okay, now see, reasons and causes are the things because of which war takes place. Try and understand, because generally children make mistake in the examination. They misunderstand the question. Instead of causes they read effects, effects they read causes, and they write a very lengthy answer but they don't get marks. Okay, so try and understand, because afterwards in the later part of your syllabus you will have First World War, Second World War. In those wars also you will have causes and the effects. Okay, in that case in many lessons you will have this causes and the effects. So basically you have to understand the reason very well. So reasons and causes, reasons for the First War of Independence, causes for the First War of Independence, it means the same. And when I say results, effects and consequences, this means the same. Now, the difference between reasons, causes and results, effects and consequences are, see, these things take place because of which war takes place. Okay, and consequences are what is the result, what is the effect on the people after the war. Okay, so this is the difference you have to understand, and while attempting the question you have to be very particular, or try to understand whether they have asked reasons, causes, or they have asked the effects. Okay, so just remember these words very carefully. Okay, now we'll go to the causes one by one. Okay, for now we'll study only the political causes. Okay, political causes itself is very huge. Okay, now it is basically the causes is divided into 4 categories. We'll see one by one. We'll start with the political causes. Okay. Okay, we'll start with political causes. Just have a look at the PPT. So this is the First War of Independence. Here you can see the map, which places were affected. Okay, where it was vigorous, these parts took place. See, you can see over here. Okay, many places are there on the map. Goa is there, Mysore is there, Mumbai is there, Baroda is there. Okay, Awadh is there, okay, Bareilly is there, Lucknow is there, Chandigarh is there. So these, Assam is there. So these are the different places in which the war was vigorous. Okay, it affected those areas more. Now see the causes of First War of Independence. This is what I told you: political causes, socio-religious causes, economic causes and military causes. Now political causes. British policy of expansion. This is your first point. British policy of expansion. Okay, now see here. Now one thing is very much clear. Britishers came to India just to take undue advantage of the Indians. Okay, of Indians as well as the resources which is there in India. They did not come here for the well-being of the Indians. Definitely not. They were here to fill their pockets. Okay, now in political causes, how Britishers, they came here and slowly they started expanding their territories. They brought different areas, different regions of India under their control. So how did they bring those areas under their control? See, British policy of expansion, in that first is by outright wars. Okay, now outright wars means Britishers had a war, you can say like Anglo-Mysore war, okay, Anglo-Sikh war. Like this, they had war with small communities, and when they defeated them, their territory was captured by the Britishers. Okay, that is there in outright wars. So by this they started expanding their territories. Okay, then second is subsidiary alliance. Okay, now by the policy of subsidiary alliance also, Britishers expanded their territories. Now subsidiary alliance we'll just see in detail. I'll just explain you the other points and we'll see in detail afterwards. doctrine of lapse, okay, and last one is annexation of Awadh. Okay, now this is the first point under political causes. British policy of expansion means what? They wanted to expand their territories. Okay, now which strategies were adopted by the Britishers? First is by outright wars. This I told you. Britishers had in war with Marathas, Sikh, okay, like this, Rajputs, like this. They had in war with the small communities, and when they defeated those communities, that territories. Now suppose they are having a war with the Marathas, okay, Anglo-Maratha war. So Britishers defeated Marathas, and the territories which were under the control of Marathas were taken over by the Britishers. Okay, then subsidiary alliance. When Indians accepted, this was introduced by Lord Wellesley. Okay, when subsidiary alliance was accepted by the Indians, they had to accept the conditions which are given by the Britishers. We'll discuss those conditions just now after some time. Let me explain these first. Then doctrine of lapse. What is doctrine of lapse? Now, if suppose any ruler is there, okay, and he is adopting children, okay. Now that adopted child will not be considered as a legal heir if he is adopted without the consent of the company, that is without the consent of the Britishers, and in that case the property of the ruler will go to the company, okay, it will not be transferred to the legal heir. Okay, so like this many rulers were there, those who had the adopted sons, and since they did not take the permission from the Britishers, that is why their territories were taken over by the Britishers. That is doctrine of lapse. Then annexation of Awadh. Now they made people of Awadh understand that if Britishers rule over them, then it will be beneficial for the people of Awadh. So they gave false assurances to the people and they annexed Awadh. Okay, they took Awadh under their control, but it was observed that when Britishers ruled over Awadh, people's life became more miserable. Properties were confiscated, people became unemployed, and peasants had to face poor condition. They were not able to pay the taxes. So all these things where people were beaten up. So like this they had to face problems. The people of Awadh had to face problems. So these are the different policies of expansion of the Britishers through which they tried to expand their territory. Okay. Now see the second point. See in the slide. Disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah. Okay, we'll see in detail all these things. Treatment given to Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmibai, and absentee sovereignty of the British. Okay, now we'll see in detail one point. British policy of expansion. Okay, now see, the British expanded their political power in India in through four ways. These are the 4 ways: outright wars, subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse, and annexation of Awadh. Okay, now in that we'll see subsidiary alliance in detail. Just revise outright wars. To expand their territory, their territory in India, British fought many wars. Example, Battle of Buxar, Anglo-Mysore Wars, Third Anglo-Maratha War, Second Anglo-Sikh War, etc. So these are the different wars which were fought by the Britishers against Indians, and when these communities were defeated, their territories were taken over by the Britishers. Okay, then see, by system of subsidiary alliance, Lord Wellesley introduced the system in which Indian states were brought under the British control without annexing them. Under the system, Indian rulers agreed to. Now see, by subsidiary alliance, no, they did not formally annex them. Annex means adding to their kingdom. But there were certain other conditions. When an Indian is accepting subsidiary alliance, he has to follow the following terms and conditions which is given by the Britishers. Now what are the conditions? Let's see. Accept British as supreme power. So they have to accept, first point is they have to accept British as supreme power. Also, okay, now second, end foreign relations and wouldn't enter any alliance or wars. Now, second point is, now Indians will not have any relation with the other countries without the consent of the Britishers, nor will they have any war with the other countries without the consent of the Britishers. Means this is the second condition of the Britishers. Okay, war or alliance. They will not have any alliance with the other European nations, other countries. Third point is, British resident at their headquarters and wouldn't employ any European without consulting. So, one British will be there, one person of British will be there at their headquarters. Okay, and one British will be there at their headquarters, and they could not employ any European without the consent of the Britishers. Okay, if they have to employ any European in their court or something like that, in their jobs or certain or anything, then they have to take prior permission to from the Britishers. Okay, the next point is, maintain British troops at their own cost. So, if the Indians are accepting, any ruler is accepting the subsidiary alliance, then that ruler has to accept to bear the military expenses of the Britishers. Okay, so fourth point is, I'll just write over here. Fourth point is accepting military expenses. They have to bear the military expenses of the Britishers. Then, virtually lost independence. So, in other words, when we see all these things, finally we can come to a conclusion that they virtually lost the independence. Indians lost their independence. I'll just repeat, we'll just revise these points. When Indians accepted subsidiary alliance, they had to follow certain rules which were given by the Britishers, and it was introduced by Lord Wellesley. Okay, now according to subsidiary alliance, without annexing them, they brought the territories under their control. Okay, how did they do so? By giving these rules and regulations which is coming under subsidiary alliance. When a ruler accepts that he will take the policy of subsidiary alliance, he is accepting the policy of subsidiary alliance means he has to follow the rules which are given in the subsidiary alliance. And according to subsidiary alliance, they have to accept British as the supreme power. Then they cannot enter into war or any alliance with the other nations without the prior permission of the Britishers. Okay, then they have to, one British person will be there at their headquarters. Okay, then at their headquarters, and any Europeans will not be employed without their consultation. Okay, then fourth point is, all the military expenses of the Britishers will be borne by the ruler who has accepted the subsidiary alliance. Okay, and last is, finally, virtually Indians are or that ruler will lose the independence. Okay, so these are the policies, or these are the points the ruler has to accept when he is accepting subsidiary alliance. Okay, I hope this outright was and subsidiary alliance, this point is very much clear. Okay, we will move further to doctrine of lapse. Now see, Lord Dalhousie annexed many Indian states consent of the using doctrine of lapse, according to which heirs adopted without consent of the company could inherit only the private property. Okay, see, the private property is important over there. Private property of the deceased ruler and his territory would come under the company's rule. Example, in 1953, ruler of Jhansi died without natural heir. Widow Rani was retired and their adopted son Anandrao wasn't recognized as successor to throne. Similarly, states of Satara, Nagpur, Udaipur, etc. had some same problems. Now, according to the doctrine of lapse, okay, according to doctrine of lapse, if any ruler is has any adopted son, okay, so that son will not be considered as a legal heir to the throne, and the ruler's private property only can be transferred, and his kingdom and the whole area which was under him, okay, that will be taken by the company. Okay, so like that they expanded their territory using the doctrine of lapse, and here they have given example of Rani of Jhansi. She also had the adopted son, and the adopted son was Anand Rao, and he was not recognized as a legal heir to the throne. That is why he did not get his the property of Rani Lakshmibai, which legally had to be transferred to Anand Rao, but the property was taken by the Britishers according to the rule of doctrine of lapse. Understood doctrine of lapse? Now, fourth point is on the pretext of alleged misrule, that is annexation of Awadh. This already I told you, but still we will see once again. On the pretext of alleged misrule, see here, annexation of Awadh. Lord Dalhousie annexed Awadh on 13th Feb 1856 on the pretext of alleged misrule. British broke their promises given to ruling chiefs. People had to face more hardships, had to pay higher taxes and revenues. Problems of unemployment rose, property were confiscated, 75,000 sepoys were worst affected and didn't like what British did in Awadh. So this is what I had already explained you in annexation of Awadh. Okay, now the rulers of Awadh were given assurances by the British that if they rule over that area or that region, then surely they will benefit from the Britishers. But in actual practice what happened? They made the life of the people of Awadh miserable. Okay, they could not pay the taxes, heavy burden of taxes was imposed on the poor peasants, which made it difficult for them to pay. Unemployment was there, sepoys were thrown out of their jobs, they had to pay higher taxes, higher revenues, and all these conditions, miserable conditions, made their life more miserable. So this is annexation of Awadh, or on the pretext of alleged misrule, means it was told something, false promises were made and the treatment given was something different. Okay, so the true nature of British came into existence through this annexation of Awadh, and they are telling this was a very means here Indians came to know that Britishers cannot be trusted. Okay, so these are the different points which come under political causes. Okay, I'll just repeat. First point is British policy of expansion, and in this first point only 4 different subheadings are there: by outright wars, by subsidiary alliance, by doctrine of lapse, and by annexation of Awadh. Okay, so this entire thing is there in first point, that is British policy of expansion. Okay, I hope it is very much clear. Now we'll go to the second point of political cause. Okay, now second point of political cause, disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah. Okay, Bahadur Shah was a Mughal emperor, okay, last Mughal emperor, and he died, and his wife Zeenat Mahal, okay, she was Zeenat Mahal and her family, okay, the family which was left after Bahadur Shah, okay, they were not allowed to use Red Fort as their palace, okay, and they were not allowed to use imperial titles, okay, which were used by the Mughals earlier. So this hurt the sentiments of Zeenat Mahal. Okay, this is disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah. See, once we'll just see in the PPT. Bahadur Shah, a Mughal emperor, was under protection of the company, but after his death, Lord Dalhousie announced that ruler's widow Zeenat Mahal and successors can't use Red Fort as palace, and in 1956, Lord Canning announced that the successors can't use imperial titles. This hurt sentiments of Muslims. Okay, so this was done. This was done by Lord Dalhousie, and this decision was taken by Lord Canning. Okay, so Bahadur Shah was a Mughal emperor. Okay, after his death, his wife Zeenat Mahal and his family members were not allowed to use Red Fort as their palace, and the family was also not allowed to use the imperial titles. This decision was taken by Lord Canning, and the decision of Red Fort of not using as the palace was taken by Lord Dalhousie. So this is how disrespect was shown to Bahadur Shah. So this is the second political cause. Now third, treatment given to Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmi Bai. Okay, so this is the third point. Treatment given to Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmi Bai. Now, here Rani Lakshmi Bai we had already seen in the example of doctrine of lapse, isn't it? So, Rani Lakshmi Bai became a bitter enemy of the British just because of the policy of the doctrine of lapse. Now, treatment given to Nana Sahib also faced the same problem of the doctrine of lapse. Okay, we'll just see in detail. Bajirao too, the last Peshwa, was under the protection of company, but after his death they refused to pay the grant to ruler's adopted son, that is Nana Sahib. So Bajirao too, okay, he was under the protection of the company. Bajirao's son was Nana Sahib, but Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Bajirao. That's why Britishers refused to give him the territory. Okay, so the territory of Bajirao was taken away by the company. So this is also the policy of doctrine of lapse. That is why Nana Sahib had grievances against the Britishers. See here, that is Nana Sahib, he was sent to Kanpur away from Pune. He then travelled to different parts of country to create awareness about British policies. So he was forced to stay away from his family. His family was in Pune and he was, his family was in Kanpur and he was forced to stay at Satara. Okay, far away from his family. So one doctrine of lapse was the grievance, and when he was forced to stay away from his family, that was the second grievance against the Britishers. So this is the treatment given to Nana Sahib. Now let's see about Rani Lakshmi Bai. Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi, victim of doctrine of lapse, became bitter enemy of the British. Other rules also had a doubt in the British. So Rani Lakshmi Bai became a bitter enemy because her adopted son Anand Rao was not accepted as the legal heir to the throne, and their property of the kingdom were annexed by the Britishers. Only the personal property of the king was given to Anand Rao. Okay, so this is all about political causes and treatment given to Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmi Bai. This was your third point under political causes. Okay. Now, fourth point under political causes, absentee sovereignty of the British. Absentee sovereignty of the British. Now see, before Britishers, there were many other invaders who ruled over India. Okay, for example, we say Mughals. Mughals ruled over India. But what was the rule of the Mughals? That when they ruled over India, they saw that Indians are benefited out of the wealth of the Indians. But here what is happening? Ki Britishers are ruling over Indians far away from Indian soil. Okay, far away from means from England, they were controlling the resources in India. They were trying to take undue advantage of the situation which is there in India. That is drain of wealth from India to Britishers. Means the money that is collected by the Britishers was not used for the welfare of the Indians. So this was again one of the political cause for which the people rose a revolt against the Britishers. Okay, we'll just quickly go through this. India was being ruled by British from England and the revenue collected from India in India, but in case of the British, Indians felt that wealth of India was drained to England and wasn't used for the welfare of Indians. So this is what I explained, ki the revenue, the taxes which was collected by the Indians was not used for the welfare of Indians. Those taxes were drained to England. Means the wealth of Indians is being drained to England. They totally took undue advantage of the Indians. So these were the different categories of political causes or the different points which were included under political causes. We'll just quickly have a glance through it. See, political causes, British policy of expansion. First point was British policy of expansion. Under that we saw outright wars. subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse and annexation of Awadh. Then we saw second point was disrespect shown to Bahadur Shah. The successors were not allowed to use the Red Fort as their palace, and they were not allowed to use the imperial titles. Then treatment given to Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmibai according to the policy of doctrine of lapse, they were the victims who were grabbed under this policy of the Britishers. That is why they were having grievances against the Britishers. And absentee sovereignty of the British, where Britishers were not using the money which is collected in Indians for the from the Indians for the Indians. The money they collected in India were benefited, the money that was collected from Indians were taken to England, and finally England was benefited, that is Britishers were benefited. So these are the different political causes, and the remaining causes will continue in my next session. Thank you, dear children.